Ever wonder how those nonprofits, they always seem to be pulling off these like huge fundraising campaigns for these big ambitious projects. Like how do they actually do it? Well, today we're going behind the scenes of those big fundraising pushes, those capital campaigns. And honestly, the stuff we found is it's surprisingly relatable. We're diving deep into this conversation with a fundraising expert. This expert's seen it all, from getting those major donors on board to those small but like really impactful things that can make or break a campaign. And the conversation we're diving into today, it's this expert advising somebody who's trying to put together a capital campaign for a new mental health facility all the way in Uganda. And you might be thinking, okay, what does that have to do with me? But stick with us on this. The expert here, they drop some serious knowledge, pure gold, about how to run a big fundraising no matter what your cause is. And one thing that jumped out at me right off the bat was like how much work goes on way before they even announce the campaign. The expert said they often spend up to like 2 years just refining their pitch.
Yeah, that's right. It's all strategy. They use that time to really craft what they call a case statement, which is basically this really detailed document that lays out like why this project is needed, the vision, the potential impact it'll have for donors. It's like, think of it as a business plan, but for fundraising.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, you wouldn't go into a meeting with investors with some half-baked idea, right?
Yeah.
Same deal here.
Totally, totally. And they even bring in like some of their top donors to give feedback on the case statement before they even ask them for a single dollar.
Absolutely. Those big donors, they often have a ton of experience and they know firsthand what other donors are looking for.
Right.
They're almost like consultants at that point. They help shape the campaign for success from the ground up.
So it's like they're not just there to write checks. These big donors, they're actually helping decide where the whole campaign goes.
Exactly. And that gets to something really important. Understanding how donors think, especially those who give a lot.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of these major donors, they think like venture capitalists.
Interesting. So it's not just about giving to a good cause. They're looking for something more, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. They want to see a real impact, a chance to be part of something big, something transformative. They're not satisfied with just maintaining the status quo.
Yeah.
They want to shake things up, you know what I mean?
Right. They're drawn to those big, bold ideas, those game changers.
Yeah, like there reminds me of those entrepreneurs, the ones who pour their resources into those unconventional ideas, things other people might think are crazy.
Exactly. They're not afraid to take a risk and back something with the potential to really change the game.
That's it. That's the spirit.
And speaking of those major donors, I was floored when the expert dropped this stat. In their last campaign, which brought in a whopping $37 million, 60 households, just 60, accounted for 60% of the total amount raised. That's wild.
It really highlights just how vital it is to find those key donors, cultivate relationships with them, the ones who truly get behind your vision.
So it's not even about getting as many donations as you can. It's about finding those people who truly believe in what you're doing and have the means to make a big difference.
Precisely. These individuals, they become your champions. They spread the word, open doors, and their excitement, it's contagious. Other people see that, and it inspires them to give, too. It's about more than just writing a check. They're buying into your vision, becoming part of the journey. And it's not all about those big contributions either. Creating that culture, making everyone feel included, like every gift matters. That's essential.
Yeah, yeah. It makes me think of that story, the feeding of the 5,000, where that one kid, he offers his lunch to Jesus, and it's like, it ends up being part of this huge miracle.
Exactly. It's like a perfect example of how even those small contributions, they can have this like ripple effect when you combine them with everyone else's generosity. Every gift, no matter how big or small, it all adds up to something much bigger.
Right, right. It's a good reminder that everybody can be a part of making something really meaningful happen. Speaking of making donors feel valued, the expert mentioned this thing they do. I thought it was really interesting. They keep these detailed notes about all their major donors. And I'm not just talking about basic contact info.
Yeah, it's about showing them you care, building a connection that goes beyond just, hey, thanks for the money.
Right, exactly. Like they'll remember birthdays, hobbies, even the names of their donors' pets. I mean, that's pretty impressive, right?
It's all about making those donors feel seen, like they're valued as people, not just walking ATM.
Yeah.
And those little touches, they make a huge difference in building trust and loyalty.
It sounds almost like you're like making friends, not just fundraising.
In a way, yeah. It's about human connection, creating this shared experience around a common goal.
Totally, totally. And while we're on the topic of connecting with donors, we got to talk about this thing the expert called hidden objections. They said some donors were hesitant, asking things like, well, why start building if you haven't raised all the funds yet?
Yeah, that's a natural concern, especially when you're talking about a major project. They want to know their investment is safe, that the project is actually going to happen.
So it's not that they don't believe in the cause, it's more about making sure things are being handled responsibly, right?
Exactly. It goes back to that idea of social proof.
Yeah.
You know, people are more likely to jump on board when they see others have already invested, especially people they trust.
Right, right. Like when you're buying something online, if I see a product with a ton of good reviews, I'm way more likely to buy it than something with no reviews,
E-
you know?
Exactly. It's all about building that momentum, that credibility, showing people that, hey, this is happening and you can be a part of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like we're not messing around here. This is the real deal. So we've talked a lot about, getting those donations. But what happens after someone gives, besides the thank you note, of course?
Hmm.
There's got to be more to it than that, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's where stewardship comes in. It's about building those relationships with your donors for the long term and showing them, like, hey, here's what your money is doing. Here's the impact. It's huge, honestly, for any successful campaign.
So you're saying it's not just, okay, thanks for the money, see ya.
Mm.
It's about making donors feel like they're a part of something, even after they've made that donation.
Yeah, exactly. Stewardship is about staying in touch.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean hitting them up for more money. It's about sharing stories of how the campaign is making a difference, giving them updates, making them feel like partners in the whole thing.
So instead of just sending out those boring annual reports with a bunch of numbers, you're talking about like really painting a picture for them, showing them how their money's actually changing lives.
Exactly. Like with this mental health facility,
Hmm.
imagine getting an update with a story about, say, a young person who's doing so much better because of the support they're getting. That's what makes it real, right?
Right. It's about putting a face to the impact.
Exactly. And when donors see that transparency, that connection, it builds trust and it makes them want to give again.
It's like they become part of the story themselves.
That's it. And that feeling, being part of something bigger than yourself, that's what takes a fundraising campaign and turns it into a movement.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's not even about the money anymore at that point. It's about the energy, the shared goals,
Yeah.
the commitment to actually making a difference.
Exactly.
Really inspiring stuff.
It is. And it's something anyone can be a part of, no matter how much they give.
That's a great point to end on. So, whether you're passionate about something local or you want to tackle a global issue, remember this. Your generosity, believing in a cause, it can spark something incredible. Who knows, you might even start a movement of your own.